1212, I go by the name of DJ What, and you're now listening to the original Jeek podcast. Let's go!
Ready to make an entrance, so backward cut. Come on, cut for me.
Oh yeah. Whoa, slow down. Whoa, speed up.
Fresh.
Making me itch.
What up, Jeeks? My name is Rockin' Mr. Magic, and this is the original Jeek podcast. Welcome back, everybody. Apologize, it's been a couple weeks since we had our last episode, but I'm trying to keep it going here in this winter time frame. Y'all know how it is, shopping, family time, and whatnot. So, made some time to bring y'all some more dope Jeek content. Tonight, we have a guest with us. I'm excited to have a conversation with this brother. I've had some small ones online and looking forward to really spending this time together. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce today's guest. He is half of the Eddie and Mike, the podcast, DC fan, Mike Pyatt.
What's poppin', y'all? How y'all doing tonight, this evening, this morning, if you're listening in the morning?
Yeah, it's as of recording time, it's Saturday night. To those listening, you'll hear this Wednesday morning, and it's a lovely evening. It's 2 weeks before Christmas, and we're gonna have a good time. To start the show, we're gonna have a short Q&A with Mike, but before we get cracking with that, Mike, do me a favor and please share how you and your content can be found on social media.
So I'm like everywhere, all the time for the most part. But on Twitter, you can find me at Mike from SW, abbreviated for Southwest. The same thing for Instagram too, at Mike from SW. As far as the podcast, I'm on two of them right now. Matt already mentioned Eddie and Mike. You can find us on Twitter at Eddie and Mike DMV. Again, that's at Eddie and Mike DMV. And the Wizards podcast that I'm running with my man at Damaged DC Fan on Twitter. And that podcast is called Wiz the Classified. And I'm just kind of all over right now, having fun with this podcast thing. It's really been an adventure.
Awesome. And the podcast, it's a lot of fun. I'm glad you're here to join in some of the fun we have, and that's what we try to do here on the Regional Jeek podcast, is to have the best conversation around sports and geek culture. So let's get going.
I'm in the right place then, because
yes,
I love it. I'm ready.
This is the place to be. If you talk sports and you talk geek, you nerd, this is the spot, because we talk about both of them, and we like to merge those worlds as much as possible. So let's start. Being that you're rocking the hat and you got the background here, let's start on the gridiron. So, when will the Washington football team win their next Super Bowl? What's your prediction? When's that gonna finally happen again?
I don't know, because I got torched the last time I said this out my mouth, and this was back in 2012 after we drafted RG3, went on that 7-game win streak, and then it just all messed up. Everything just went crazy. So now that Rivera's here, I'm hoping that they can get one within his tenure. He's in the second year of the 5-year contract. So I'm pretty sure it'll get past the 5. I think he's done well enough to get past the 5. So hopefully within the next 5 years. But realistically speaking, it's hard to win the Super Bowl. So I'll say 10. 10 years.
10
Within the
years.
next 10 years. Hopefully, man. I need one. I just need one. Honestly, I'll go even further. We haven't had an 11-win season since 1991. I'll take that.
Yeah. Well, and that
take
was
that.
and that's and you won the Super Bowl in '92. So
Right.
yeah,
Like,
it's been a while.
It's hard. Like, I know other fans probably have worse experiences with their teams than with Washington football fans, but man, like, whew, it's been bad. Like, just as bad on the field and off the field. Like, we go through a ton.
Well, I'll put it this way. I don't think your team's going to win until you get new ownership, because your ownership is hot garbage.
Honestly, I try not to, like, get into curses and jinxes and all that stuff. But if such a thing did exist, if there was a curse on the team, I do think that I can probably provide a great case that Snyder's that curse. like, don't get me wrong. Before he owned the team, it wasn't like Washington was winning as much as other teams were. Like, they were starting to trend down during that time. Honestly, Washington is a franchise. Like, they have pockets of success, but outside of those pockets of success, they're kind of trash. Like, I'm talking all the way back to the 40s, the 50s. Like, the 40s and 50s for this franchise was horrible. 1960, things started to got better. They went to a Super Bowl in the 70s, won in the 80s and 90s. But since the 90s, it's been horrible.
True. It's been rough. But you've got that success to lean on. You know, a lot of franchises are, still seeking their first. But you've got an odd history because of you've had so much down, and then you have those flashes of greatness and you win. But most of your time, your tenure is pretty bad. Where you've got franchises that are just seemingly consistently always good, regardless of whether they win or not. They're always, they're never terrible, whether they win or not. But when you're just generally bad, and then you win a couple, it's like, cool, we won, but most of the time we suck, and that's not fun.
Right. And going back to what you said about Snyder and ownership and team success, you can kind of look at the Steelers and their ownership. And not only their ownership, but from what I know about the Rooneys, from what I've heard about the Rooneys, they're good people. And Dan Snyder is not a good person based on what we've heard about him.
No, Dan Snyder, I don't know anybody that thinks Dan Snyder's a good person. No, Dan Snyder's not a good person. And we, as we've seen, we've heard and we've seen throughout the years, the culture is terrible in ownership. I used to live in Pittsburgh. I'm not a Steeler fan, and that's mostly because I don't like Steeler fans. But the culture, for the most part, within the Steelers organization is top notch, and that's why they've had 3 coaches since 1965.
That's amazing.
That's why they've won their 5 Super Bowls in that time frame. But it's why they have one of the most rabid fan bases in the National Football League. Is why they have the largest female fan base in the National Football League. Partially, they do get some help because there's no basketball team in Pittsburgh, but football still, it's still king for the most part, and they have just a fantastic organizational culture. And you look at that, and they're consistently good. Like, they'll have a couple bad years here and there, but I don't think Tomlin's ever had a season where he didn't win at least like 7 or 8 games.
Yeah, I think 8's the number.
Yeah, I think 8's the lowest he's ever had. I think the same was for like Cowher. I don't think Cowher ever had a season where he lost more than 8 games, something like that. Like they're consistently always good, and that's based upon, and that's top down. And the Rooneys were innovators amongst ownership in the NFL, and that means something to the success you can have. I do say, however, they got gifted that Super Bowl against Seattle. I contend that they were gifted that because I originally, I'm being a Steelers fan, I originally was rooting for them to win that game. And then I saw how poorly that game was being officiated. And then I changed to Seattle just because I was like, y'all are handing them this game. This is not cool.
That year was 2005, and I'm gonna tell you that year from a Washington fan's perspective.
Okay.
Seattle was in that Super Bowl.
Yes.
We lost to Seattle in that divisional playoff round. The reason that hurt so much is because I really think that team was like built to beat the Steelers. I think we could have beaten the Steelers in the Super Bowl had we made it. I think the Seahawks beat the forgot who they played in the championship that year. But nevertheless, Carlos Rogers, cornerback for the football team, had a pick six in his hand in the third quarter that probably would have sealed the game for that team because they had Clinton Portis at the time. They was eating clock. He had a pick six, dropped it.
He dropped me. I remember he dropped that. I remember watching that.
Only come to find out a few years later that his ass was jacked up. He gets laser surgery and becomes an all-pro in San Francisco. I'm like, dude, if you would have fixed your eyes when you were in college, we probably could have had a Super Bowl. So I'm just saying it from a Washington fan perspective. But nah, respect to the Steelers, though. They do their thing. I can't. They might even sneak in the playoffs this year. Who knows?
Which is crazy because they could. Now, being that they lost to Minnesota, that likelihood is lower. But but they still have a shot like that, which is just wild because they've played terribly all year. Mm-hmm. It's wild. I can't speak on ownership as a Lions fan because my ownership's terrible, and we're not going to win we're not going to make the playoffs until the Fords sell the team because they don't care about winning. They're making money because Lions fans still pack that stadium no matter how poorly we play, and as long as they continue to turn a profit, they're not going to make a concerted effort as ownership to try to win. Why would they?
That's wild, and that's for as trash as a human being that Dan Snyder is. Unfortunately, I think that's the one thing that Washington fans universally can agree on. We might not agree with the method, but he does care about winning. It's just that he's trash at it, probably because he's a trash human being. I'm not going to call him that anymore, but I'm just being real. I'm just saying.
No, we keep it real. Look, trust me, this isn't the first episode where we've trashed Dan Snyder. So Dan Snyder has gotten absolutely zero love on this podcast, and I don't foresee that changing.
And this sucks because it's like you're a fan of the team that he owns. Not only is he a bad person, but the team isn't winning. So it's like literally the only connection I have to this team is the fact that it's in Washington. So if he was to ever have the audacity to move this team from Washington, it's like a contingent. He would lose a very huge percentage of fans if he ever thought about moving this team from this area. Because I know I'm one of them, and I'll probably make sure everybody else leave with him too.
Well, I think people would burn the city down if the team was moved like that. Oof. That would not go over well in any shape, form, or fashion. That would be crazy. No way. He would have the audacity to propose it, but there's no way that they would let that happen. The other owners would shoot that proposal down in a second.
I think the most extreme it'll get is, I know that they'll have a new stadium by 2027, maybe a year before, because that's where the contract at the current stadium is over. The most extreme thing is him building a stadium in Richmond, Virginia. I think that's like the furthest away he'll get with moving the team. Outside of that, if it's outside of the DMV area, he'll
moving it to Richmond. That doesn't make. I mean, not that I can talk, because for years the Lions played in Pontiac. So
how far is that from Detroit?
Pontiac from Detroit?
It's
not close. It's not exactly close. I'm trying to remember here. It's been a while.
Is it more than 2 hours?
No. It's not that far. Okay. No. It's. With traffic.
That's about how far Richmond.
Yeah. That's how far Richmond is. Yeah. It's from Pontiac from Detroit, roughly driving. It's not that bad. It's like 45 minutes to an hour. Okay. And I can't imagine fans being okay with Richmond being the home.
Oh, it'll be horrible. The traffic alone will be horrible.
Yes. I want you to help me predict the college football playoff here. We haven't predicted it yet here at Jeek Nation, so help me out here. We've got number 1 seeded Alabama versus number 4 seeded Cincinnati. And we've got number 2 Michigan versus number 3 Georgia. How do you foresee this college football playoff panning out here, Mike?
I really, really would love to pick Cincinnati to beat Bama, but I just can't. I can't. And same with Georgia and Michigan. Like, it seems like Georgia and Alabama is meant to meet for another rematch. No disrespect to Michigan at all. They took care of Ohio State. They took an L to Michigan State earlier in the year, but they seemed to bounce back strong from it. But Georgia just looked like a wrecking crew the entire season. And I guess their kryptonite is Nick Saban. So unless Harbaugh and Saban's going to like trade jobs for a week or so, I don't think Michigan going to take them out. Unfortunately, because I kind of like Michigan. I'm not going to lie.
Okay. So you've got Bama versus Georgia in the final. Okay. You're probably right. As a Michigan fan, obviously I'm rooting for Michigan. And I think Michigan has a legit chance to beat Georgia. Georgia's got a lot of talent. However, Georgia is also known for folding. Yeah, they're known for choking. Yeah. They're known for choking. Because I think this was their best year to beat Bama, and they got manhandled. And Michigan the thing about Michigan right now is, and I hate to say it because I don't want to, even though I don't believe in jinxes, I don't want to jinx anything as a Michigan fan, but Michigan's the hottest team out of those 4 right now. They're clicking on all cylinders offensively and defensively. McNamara is playing extremely well at quarterback. The offensive line is demolishing everything in front of it. The running game is fantastic with Haskins and Corum. And nobody has been able to stop Aiden Hutchinson and David Ojabu at defensive end. They are just wreaking havoc. The secondary is playing very well. They're clicking right now, where Bama's good, Georgia is good, but they're not clicking on all cylinders, and neither is Cincy. So right now, Michigan is that most dangerous team because they could go out there and possibly steamroll Georgia. Because I'm old school, and as a Midwesterner, as old school football, I'm a Big Ten guy. Smash mouth football is still the way you get things done. And when you have a line that is big, strong, and athletic like Michigan's is, I don't see how Georgia is going to be able to stop that ground attack from moving the football and eating up the clock. And I don't think Georgia has the defensive line to handle what they're going to do running wise. Since he needs a miracle if they're going to beat Bama. I mean, that's just, since he needs a flat out miracle to beat Bama.
I would love to see it, though.
I mean, it would be fun to see. I would love to see, them pull a Boise State versus Oklahoma type of game win. That would be dope, especially because I don't like Saban. But, there's Saban is Saban and Bama is Bama. And I don't see Cincy winning. And they've eked out too many close games against below par.
Right. I think
competition.
They struggled against Navy. They barely beat Navy, who Army just stumped today.
No, Navy won today.
Oh, what?
Yeah, Navy won.
Oh, man.
Navy won. Yeah, my midshipman won today.
Oh, got the wrong alert or something?
I'm pretty. Yeah, I saw the said Navy won. Unless I misread that alert.
Man, my apologies.
Yeah, Navy won. The defense played today.
Oh, shoot. I don't know where I got that from. Maybe I was looking at, I don't know. Anyway. Since he shouldn't struggle with that team and still make the playoffs, that's what I'm trying to say.
You're not allowed to struggle. Yeah, if you're struggling against, but if you're struggling against, it's not like they're a ranked Navy team either.
Exactly. That's not even a good Navy team.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this isn't like one of those years where Air Force is ranked 23 or something like that, and someone almost loses to them or whatever. This Navy team is, they're not that great.
That's what's up. I'm happy for you.
Yeah, I mean, generally, Navy wins most of the time anyway.
Right.
Army had this little hot streak, but most of the time Navy wins. And you mentioned the Michigan State beating Michigan, which always hurts for me because you understand my mother is a Spartan.
Oh.
Yeah. So my Uncle John, he's a Badger. My mom's a Spartan. My cousin Kevin's a Buckeye. So,
I have some wars.
Yeah. So the college football season,
basketball season, my goodness.
Yeah, so the college football season is very full of a lot of angst, a lot of trash talk during the season, and I mean Michigan should have won that game, and I'm frustrated they didn't. But the best overall player was Kenneth Walker III. And even though Michigan has the better team, they couldn't stop that player. And they'd be number one playing Cincy right now had they won that game. And it's like, but Michigan State is a ranked team and they're a good team. So even though they lost, it's not like they struggled against Navy or the other teams. And I forget what Cincy play. Are they still in Conference USA? I don't even know what conference they play in anymore.
What is it? At the athletic conference now?
Yeah, something like that. I forget what they changed the name to. Like something like they play anybody. They don't play anybody that's worthy. It's not like they beat Notre Dame or something like that. Like your schedule's pretty weak.
I think that's the one team they did beat, Notre Dame. They beat them.
Yes, they did beat Notre Dame, actually. And I'm saying that.
I don't think it's nobody else, though. And that's it.
Yeah, I think they surprised Notre Dame with week 2 or 3 or something like that. And that kind of that irks me about college football a little bit because you can come into the season highly ranked and because they came into the season ranked 4th and they beat the 5th seeded team and everybody just started losing but them. So it's like they never even got past being the 4th best team even though they went undefeated.
and that's why I think
That's
that's
true.
the only excuse I'll say for expanding the playoffs past the 4 teams. Because I think Michigan State is in the top 8. You put a team like Michigan State, who else was around? Ole Miss and some other team. Like you put them extra 4 teams in, and the chances of Cincy winning decreases because of the talent that they have. It's as simple as that. So that's the only reason I would say expanded to 8, because this team's definitely better than the Bearcats.
Oh
No
yeah,
disrespect.
I mean, if you had top 8, I forget what the rankings were, but Ohio State, I don't think they fell out of the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I hate them, but they're still good. Yeah, I mean, you made a great point, because I forgot how high Cincy was ranked at the beginning of the year.
Right.
And you look at it, Michigan wasn't even ranked beginning of the year, and now we're ranked number 2.
That's my only beef with the ranking system. Like if you start high and other teams lose and you don't really prove yourself, you kind of just get in by default, so to speak. And it's kind of lame in my opinion. But anyway, shout out to them. Hopefully they pull off the upset, and I have Crow on my face.
Hey, I'll gladly eat the Crow if they beat Bama. I mean, I'm rooting for them. I just don't think this is going to happen. But if it does happen, I will be very excited, because I fully believe Michigan can beat Georgia. The likelihood, the odds are probably in Georgia's favor, but I think my prediction is a Michigan win because of their momentum right now, and beating Ohio State, winning the Big Ten their first Big Ten championship since we've had a Big Ten championship game.
Really?
Yeah, ever since because they've won the Big Ten title obviously lots of times, but since the implementation,
since they added those teams,
since the implementation of the championship game, this is their first one winning since the implementation of that, and that's only still that's 8 years old, it's still brand new. So they're riding high off of that, and they destroyed Iowa, which is another good football team, So
the Terps got caught up in that storm too at some point this year.
Right.
Yeah. We'll never see the Big Ten championship, so I'm cool with that.
I mean, you were getting better. That DJ Durkin hire, unfortunately, didn't pan out for y'all. But
I thought Loxley would fare better, and I know it's only his second year, especially COVID. His first year was kind of wild, but I don't know, man.
Maryland's about the Terps are it's a basketball school.
What always frustrates me is that the players, the best players, go to other schools and kill, and I'm like, if all of y'all would stay in Maryland for one cycle, maybe we could compete for a national title, but nah. Because even the dude from Gonzaga, he went to Oklahoma and is killing it. Replaced Spencer Rattler and started killing it. And I'm like, you don't think the Terps can use some of that?
Recruiting, you gotta give them a reason to come.
I always tell the players I get it. I understand why y'all leave. I wish I would have left too, but I get it. I'm not mad at y'all.
You have to be a heck of a salesman to be able to get these people to commit to come to your school. You got to be able to pitch that school and the benefits of going there. And
that's what hurts me about Alabama. It's Alabama.
I mean, they are the pipeline right now. If you want a shot at the NFL, they are the pipeline right now. Let's move to the hardwood. Last week, not last week. This week, my Detroit Pistons played your Washington Wizards in a very entertaining overtime game. It was entertaining. Unfortunately for me, my Pistons lost, but I expect that because we're not good. But Cade Cunningham played well, and that's the most important part. Mm-hmm. My question to you, Mike: which of our two teams wins their next NBA championship first? Pistons or Wizards? Who's closer?
I mean, it's easy for me to say the Wizards now because we just so happen to be playing well at the moment. But I mean, historically speaking, just like Washington football team, the Wizards haven't had a 50-win season since like the 70s. I'll take that before a title.
No, well, I think they won 50 in the last I think the last year they had C-Web and Jawan. I think they won 50 in the 90s.
We never got to it. We got the 49 in 2017 with the dumb Scott Brooks. We got the 49 in 2017. That was actually a fun season. We took Boston to 7 in the second round. But no, since like 79, I think we haven't had a 50-win season, and that was.
I could have swore C-Web and Jawan and Scotty Skiles had 50 wins.
You would think, but that's just that's our luck. Like, I know what season you're talking about. I think you're talking about the 97 season.
When they played the Bulls in the first round. Yeah.
No.
Jordan was like, "This is the team of the future."
So that was the curse, I guess.
You can't be too bad. Like, that team had some talent on it.
I do know what happened. Chris Webber kind of became like, he started going wild, basically. And Abe Poland being I don't know what to call him. He was just a nice person, and he didn't want any of that type of culture around his franchise. And that's when they traded Webber to the Kings.
Yeah,
and the rest is history. So
you're right. They only won 44 games that year.
Yeah, that's just our luck. Like, you would think. I don't even remember who else was on that team. Ben Wallace was on that team.
Yeah, he was. Y'all had Hot Rod running the point. You had Jawan Howard, Chris Webber, Calvin Chaney.
Okay, that's who was running it too.
Jaren Jackson, Harvey Grant on the bench. You still had Jorge Murison. You had Tim Legler to stretch the court. Tracy Murray off the bench.
I remember it.
Good bench player. Chris Whitney, a good backup point guard, and Ben Wallace at power forward his rookie year.
I couldn't win 50 games.
Yeah, wow. I could have swore that team won 50 games because they were nice.
I think that wasn't that time. I think Strickland was with the Blazers when he had got caught with the marijuana.
Yeah, he was in Portland then. Yeah.
But yeah, that's just my luck. So based on history, I'm going with the Pistons because they've had down eras and came back and won the championship. So I'm gonna go with them because just based on history, and like you said, Cade Cunningham's a beast. I only saw about 3 minutes of the overtime. That whole game, that's all I saw was 3 minutes of the overtime, and he was just cooking Gafford. He was just cooking him. I'm like, who is this dude? I'm like, oh, that's Cade Cunningham. This dude is a beast. He was cooking him. So if y'all can build around him, hey, like I said, history says that the Pistons is going to win it before the Wizards.
I'm hoping that's true. We've got 3 championships, and each time the best player on our team was the point guard. Obviously, Isaiah Thomas for the first 2, and then Chauncey Billups for the third. So I'm hoping the past lends to the future, and if Cade's our best player at the point guard, and we can get, some players to complement him, because I don't think Jeremy Grant is that player. And nothing personal against Jeremy Grant. I just don't. Right now, Jeremy Grant's our best player, and I think Cade Cunningham needs to be our best player for us to move forward. It's just Jeremy Grant's not that dude. Better than his daddy, but he's not that dude. Nothing personal, Harvey, because Harvey was on that squad too.
Yeah, and the Wizards fan, they've been trying to trade for him, and I'm like, We got enough wings already. Like
Y'all got a lot of wings.
Do we need any more wings? Like, please.
Well,
I
can
don't know
you get
what's
them to
wrong
stay
with-
healthy? You need them to stay healthy is what part of the problem is.
I don't know what the Wizards' problem is right now, man. Like, they started off all right. I think they were 13-3 their first 16 or something like that. And like, it's just, I think they're 5-8 in the last 13 or something. Like, it just seemed like the franchise can't seem to get it together. Like you said, that team in the 90s should have won 50 games.
Absolutely.
And they were 6 games off. The 2017 definitely should have won 50 games, and they somehow didn't. Made it to the second round and almost the conference championship, but couldn't win 50 games. So like
I was thinking like Gil and Karan and Anton didn't win 50 games. Like that just seems weird.
And then it seemed like every time the Wizards get good, there's like this astronomical force that gets in the way. Like in the 90s, it was the Bulls. The first playoff round, they ran in the Shaq and the Heat with Wade and them, and that was cool and whatnot. And then when they get Wall, they ran into LeBron. Actually, they ran into LeBron twice now that I think about it. They ran into LeBron.
Multiple times they managed LeBron, which brought out my favorite quote, playoff quote from Brendan Haywood when LeBron was complaining about rough treatment from the Wizards, and Brendan's like, LeBron's going to like, they trying to hurt me.
I remember that, and that was the era of the crab dribble.
Yes, that was. When LeBron sat there, that was my crab dribble. Yo, what?
And I couldn't remember because like I had this disdain for LeBron for years, and I couldn't remember why until I realized, oh yeah, we were the first team that had to go against this dude in the playoffs, and he like put us out 2 years straight. That's why I don't like the dude.
And it was ice cold when he went to Gilbert, who about to shoot them free throws, and was like, "Don't miss now," and Gil bricked both of them because that would have iced the series for y'all.
LeBron has torched the Wizards in his career. The last time it happened was when he was with the Cavs. I think Bill or Wall, somebody had hit a 3-point to go up by 2, and he gets the ball and shoots a 3-point fadeaway bank shot for the win. And I'm like, did this dude just do this? Had to pull the John Starks out. Like, did this dude do this? Like, I couldn't believe it. And yeah, like after that, I was like, yeah, he the king, man. Like, he torched my franchise, so I gotta give him this credit, man.
I'm looking. I could have swore they had one more. 45 games was the most they won. They had 45 in the 04-05 season, and then they couldn't.
So
40,
it was 1 year during that Arenas era. It was 1 year where I thought we really was going to like compete for the title, and everybody got injured. Karan Butler, Antoine Jameson, Gilbert Arenas, like everybody got injured, and we ended up losing in the first round, I think. But yeah, I think we were if we didn't have the best record in the East, we were like the second best record in the East at the All-Star break. Because I remember Eddie Jordan coached that game, I think. So we had to have the best record at the break.
That would have been the 07-08 season. Yeah, I remember that.
And I'm like, when Karan Butler, I think Butler was injured first. I was like, oh man, here we go. And then that's when Arenas had that catastrophic injury. And I'm like, wow, like this really just happened when we finally got this good. Everybody just get injured this badly.
Yeah, because Gil only played 13 games that season.
And I'm trying to think. Oh, it was another year when John Wall had injured his hand, in the first round, we swept the Raptors, I think. He injured his hand in the beginning of the second round, and we ended up losing to the Hawks in 6, and that was a series we should have won if Wall was healthy. So, like, every time things seem to go right, something just happened. And I'm sensing that happening right now this year after that hot start. Like, something just started to, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the offense or the defense or what, but now there's these grumblings of trying to trade Bradley Beal, and Bill saying he don't want to commit. And yeah,
Well, I mean, I would trade Bradley Beal as well, just because. I mean,
it's
you're
probably
not.
about that time.
I mean, You're not close to winning, and if you're gonna, you need to get something from him before before he just walks. Like, you need to get something in return. So, you know, the time to trade him is now. Uh, you know, I- yeah,
If
he's
he's not committing, there's a difference between what Dame Lillard was doing in Portland. Like, he was like, I'm down with it, I'm ready. Like, if I'm staying, like, you ain't gotta worry about me leaving. He might be singing a different tune now, but back then he was clearly committed to Portland.
right.
Bill was never that committed to Washington.
No, no,
And
and
if they trade
I
him now,
understand why.
I wouldn't hold any like ill will towards the organization. Like, it's just time.
It's
Like, they
time.
got
Yeah,
lucky trading Wall, and then I don't know how the heck they got that Westbrook trade off, but it's
I don't
time.
either.
It's time to do it again. That was a blessing. That Lakers
You
Wizards trade was a blessing.
shouldn't have taken Westbrook on to begin with. That made zero sense. I was like, what? Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal in the same backcourt? That don't make any sense.
Yeah, that trade didn't make sense because it was like, Wall and Westbrook the same player. And then I found out we were giving away a first, and I'm like, wait a minute, we're giving up the first pick? And then I found out it was a conditional first that they'll probably never get. So I was like, oh, cool. So I was cool with that trade. But I'm talking about the Lakers. I have no idea what the heck they were thinking pairing Westbrook and LeBron together. It was never going to work.
LeBron asked for it, so they wanted to make him happy.
It was never. I love Westbrook. His intensity is ridiculous. Like, he has willed us the wins last year. Like, I'll never doubt that he willed us the wins. But my goodness, when you're talking about efficiency, it gets no more inefficient than Russell Westbrook. And you try to pair him with the king of efficiency, it was never going to work.
Well, the thing is, no, LeBron's not that efficient. I mean, he's efficient pretty much, but he's not that efficient. Remember, I think him and Russ are like number 1 and 2 in turnovers. Like, these are two guys who are always turning the ball over. So you put the highest turnover guy with like the third or fourth highest turnover guy, and they both have to have the ball in their hands to be effective. I know people were saying, "Oh, well, LeBron's going to play off the ball more this year, and this and that." LeBron's in year 18, and he's never played off the ball. He doesn't know how to. It's not, and it's too late to learn how to. He's never played off the ball. He doesn't know how to. If LeBron learned how to play off the ball in the Miami days, then we'd be talking about something different, and he'd be more dangerous of a player having someone like Russ with him.
But they had to tell him to take over at that time. They were like, yeah, it's your team, dog. And then that's when they started winning.
Well, I'm not saying that, as far as it being his team, but I personally, LeBron's biggest problem to me as far as why he hasn't won more is because LeBron's always been the system and not part of a system.
Okay.
So like when Jordan was, racking up, all those points early in his career and he wasn't winning, it's primarily the system that that Coach Collins was running was just to put the ball in Jordan's hands and everybody get out of the way. He was the offense. When Phil Jackson replaced him and implemented the triangle with Tex Spencer, Jordan had to become part of the offense. He was still the focal point, but he had to fit within the team strategy. and that made him more dangerous. It took the ball out of his hands. It made the point guards in Paxton and B.J. Armstrong have to do their job, and defenses have to respect them for their positions, and then they couldn't all collapse on Jordan the way they
Mm-hmm.
wanted to, and which made pretty much the only team really capable of slowing Jordan down, the Pistons, and that's why it looks like the Pistons were so special with the quote unquote Jordan rules, because they were the only ones who were able to play and be effective against him, where everybody else wasn't able to because they had to play more honestly against the teammates because of the system. So if LeBron had played within a system, whether he's the focal point as a scorer like Jordan, or whether he was the point guard, like if he plays within the system and not everything running through him, I fully believe they win more. I fully believe that if he'd have been the point, he would have been the Magic Johnson on that Miami team, and he'd have been the point, and you had Flash at the 2, and they get maybe Battier plays the 3, Bosh at the 4, and someone else at the 5, and Mario Chalmers plays the backup point guard, and they fit within those roles. And LeBron, instead of averaging, almost 30, LeBron averages 22, 12, and 10,
Mm-hmm.
and he has a point guard's mindset. I think they win 4 straight.
Yeah, that when you're saying that about the player in the system, it made me realize. Well, not realize. It made me think about when KD joined the Warriors. Everybody was so concerned that he was playing with Steph and Clay, and I'm like, nah, that's not the problem. The problem is the system that he's going to. Like, if everybody was already killing it in this system, and you put the best player at that time in the world in this system, that's what the problem was. It had nothing to do with Steph and Clay. It was that system. Because you saw it, even when KD got injured. Like, it wasn't like the Raptors beat the brakes off the Warriors. They were still fighting because, like, that system was deadly. And look at them now. Back again.
Yeah, man. Playing the same system. And look who's filled the spots. Jordan Poole.
Right.
Gary Payton II. Like we're not talking about superstars here. We're talking about young players who've worked hard and they've developed and they're improved. Like Wiggins, the king of underachievement, within that system. But
so I'm gonna tell you this. I'm not gonna tell you who told me, but I do know that when Otto Porter was in Chicago, like he was starting to feel himself basically. Like he was, doing too much outside partying and whatnot. Man, when I say that him landing in Golden State may have saved his career, I really mean it. Because
I don't doubt it.
Dude, he reminds me of the Otto that I saw when the Wizards first drafted him out of Georgetown. Like, that's the Otto I thought he would get, a 3-and-D Otto that was like just chaotic all over the floor making plays. So even though he's not like a top 5 or whatever in the Warriors, like I can't wait to see him in the playoffs because I know, that dude, he's about it, and it's nice to see him save his career.
Absolutely,
like, it was bad. I ain't gonna lie, it was bad.
Well, organization. They're about winning. They got their taste of winning, and they understand the structure that it takes. And why would you deviate from that while you still have great players, and you're still within a championship, attaining window, and that team is super deep right now.
It's crazy.
Super deep.
It's crazy. Like you said, Gary Payton III. I think he was with the Wizards at one point. I may be mistaken, but I think he was with the Wizards at one point.
I think he might have been with them at one point. Yeah.
He wasn't. Come on now. Like, no. I barely knew about the dude when he was with the Wizards. I think he was here for a short while. I barely knew about the dude. So to see him go to the Warriors and and I don't mean to go off topic a little bit, but
that's okay.
Have you been paying attention to the Hornets?
Yeah, I've been watching
They're,
the Hornets a bit.
that team is nice. I ain't even gonna lie. That team is nice, man.
Well, it's about time.
Top to bottom, like that team is nice. Like they got a nice mix of young and old too. I don't know how it'll work like in the playoffs and whatnot, but yeah, that's a team. As a Wizards fan, being in the same division, I'm definitely terrified of them. Like them and the Heat, those are two like legit teams you do not want to play in the playoffs.
It's gonna be interesting because they've got talent. They've like you said, they've got a mix. They've got a nice balance. Their problem come playoff time is going to be lack of experience, because none of these guys really have any experience come playoff time, except for Gordon Hayward, and that's not much playoff experience
Right.
from him. That's like a couple first round losses, and I think they're all like sweeps. And well, Terry Rozier had a little exposure in Boston, but that was one conference finals. So I think he's been the farthest of any of them. But the rest of them, Ish Smith, PJ, Kelly Oubre, Miles.
That's what made me bring up the Hornets. Oubre, he's having a nice season, potential 6th man of the year.
Yeah, and another former Wizard.
Exactly. Like who was with the Warriors at one point too.
Yes, that's true.
Like that's what I'm saying. Like if that's how it is with the Wizards, send Demi Avdija to the Warriors like now, so he can become the best player that he could possibly be. Because I just feel like they're wasting him like they wasted everybody else. Like this dude came into the league talking about Avdija with Luka comparisons. And Scott Brooks turned this dude to a spat-up shooter. I'm like, I was done with the season last year early because of that. I was like, he's doing what? Shooting what? Nah, I can't with him.
No, Scott Brooks was not the coach for that team.
Scott Brooks not the coach for anybody. I'm just being real with y'all. Ask a Thunder. If you don't believe me, talk to a Thunder fan.
Well, I mean, it's funny because who Scotty Brooks his coaching tenure reminded me of Brian Hill, because from Orlando, yeah,
for the Magic,
yeah, because you get this job, and you are blessed with, Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, James Harden, and some other talent, Ibaka, and you've got all this talent, so you look good as a coach because you're in it. And Brian Hill was blessed to get a job where he had Penny and Shaq and Dennis Scott and and Nick Anderson to make him look like he knew what he was doing.
Oh, you talking about his first run with Orlando? I thought you was talking about the second one.
No.
I forgot he did have 2 stints with them. I'm thinking, okay.
So like you look great because you were blessed to get the job, and then boom, you got all this talent. But then when things start to get tough, people realize you can't coach, at least not on this level. And Scotty Brooks showed in Washington he ain't got it. And when Brian Hill left Orlando and he was coaching elsewhere, people saw he ain't got it.
It sucked because in Washington he was in a similar situation as he was with Oklahoma. The talent just wasn't as great, but he still had a team of. Once again, I'm not saying they're as good as the Thunder, but Marcin Gortat, Bradley Beal, John Wall, Otto Porter.
Oh yeah, there was talent on the team.
Like that starting 5 was killing stuff in 2017. I remember they had a run in February, from the middle of January to the end of February 2017, where I'd never seen a Wizards team play that well. And I know Scott Brooks was the coach, but I'm telling you, I never seen a Wizards team ball that well. And it's because it was them. It was the players that was making spectacular plays.
Right.
Anytime Brooks had the coach, anytime, it's a guaranteed L. Like I lied to you not. I saw a tweet where the Wizards' former video assistant said that he handed Brooks um, Randy Whitman's defensive schemes from the year previous.
Mm-hmm.
He handed them tape. It was like 8 hours worth of tape, I think he said. Scott Brooks said, I'm going to look at them. He said by the end of this day, Scott Brooks had removed basically the entire defensive scheme from the year before. Where did the Wizards finish defensively that year? In the bottom third of the league after finishing in the top third the year before. So,
Wow.
like, yeah, that's the type of coach I had to deal with. And
It's not like they were like, I mean, they were 41-41 the year before Sky took over. Like, yeah, they won.
then they got to 49, right?
Then they got to 49.
And then nothing since then.
Yeah.
They peaked out at the 49 and, like, Wall started getting injured. And that, going back to that trade for a second, that's what made that trade wild for the Rockets. Wall had only played like 10 games in 2 years.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't believe
they must have really thought that he was going to come back with some type of vengeance or something. I didn't understand. I didn't understand that trade at all.
Like that, I think that those two trades may have saved the franchise, because if they had to stay under that super max deal for the next 3 years, they wouldn't have been able to get a Montrezl Harrell or a Kyle Kuzma.
That's by far the worst deal in the league right now. Is that John Wall deal by far? And kudos to his agent for being able to pull that off, because that's why they make the money they make.
Nah, kudos to Ernie Grunfeld for making that decision. That dude, like, ask any basketball fan who's the worst GM in the last 20 years and who's the worst coach in the last 20 years. You'll get a couple of Ernie Grunfeld and Scott Brooks in those answers. I had to deal with both of them dudes, man, at the same time. It was horrible basketball in the DMV for that, man. I'm happy where we are now. I know we're not like trending.
I mean, but can you really say they're the worst when you made to the second round of the playoffs in 2017, and the next year you made the playoffs. Yeah, you lost to in the first round, but the next year you made the playoffs with both of them as coach and executive. Like, I know it's not in trend the way you wanted it to, but it could have been a lot worse.
But I felt like the reason why though was because of the picks that he made were kind of like no miss picks, like with Bill Wall and Porter. And like, okay, example,
that's the executive's job. The executive's job is to get the talent. The coach is supposed to put it together.
The 2017 season. Let's go back to that season. Yeah, we won 49 games or whatever. But in the midst of that season, he traded a first round pick and another player to I forgot who Bogdanovich was playing for. But he basically traded away a first round pick and like a crucial player for a half year rental. And like, it did not work. Bogdanovich did not like come here and set stuff on fire. He walks in the in the off season. We get nothing in return. That happened in the 2017 season when we won 49 games. Now imagine seeing that same move happen every single year for like a 4-year stretch. We kept trading our first round pick for a half year rental. The Wizards kept doing that.
Yeah, you did do that for a while. I mean,
the Wizards.
I mean, yeah, it was a rental, and I think they were hoping Bogdanovich would stay. But honestly, it's not like you lost much. But it's not like you lost much. I mean, you traded away Andrew Nicholson, Marcus Thornton, and the 2017 first rounder, which ended up becoming Jared Allen. Okay, for Bojan and Chris McCullough. So that wasn't that bad of a trade. And sometimes you roll the dice on these deals, and Bojan's the best player out of all those mentioned. He just ended up not staying.
I think it was the Oubre trade that I'm mixing up with that trade. We traded Oubre to Phoenix.
You did trade Oubre to Phoenix.
Wasn't Uber in the first for a reason?
I think that's the deal you're probably thinking of, because I remember they wanted to get Ariza for his experience or something like that.
And this was the second stint. So, yeah, it was that trade. That's the trade I'm thinking about. When we traded Uber for Ariza. That's the trade I'm thinking about. And even Granfield, like, and the fact that he was here for 16 years and, like,
Yeah,
still
Kelly
didn't win.
Oubre and Austin Rivers to Phoenix for Ariza in 2018.
Like, yeah, those type of trades happen a lot under Granfield, man. Like, where we would just give up, like, a valuable piece for a half-year rental for no reason. Like, we
Well,
renting
and then that same season, you traded Otto to Chicago for Jabari Parker and Bobby Portis.
You just had to remind me about that. I forgot about that.
And poor Jabari, he's just never could stay healthy.
Him and Michael Porter, them two dudes.
Well, but Porter was a health problem in college. Even like, I knew you look at me, see the talent, but it's like, can this dude stay healthy? And at least Jabari played a full season at Duke. We couldn't see any full seasons out of Michael in college at Missouri at all. Like
He
he's
played
always hurt.
one season in the NBA, got the bag, and then
broke
his back
real.
again.
Completely got a massive bag. I'm like, for what? He ain't
and
do
immediately
nothing.
like broke his back. I'm like,
again.
whoa.
Yeah,
That was a gamble that was immediately.
that was a worse deal than the Chandler Parsons deal. Like, at least Chandler had like a couple good seasons where it looked like he was going to be something, a consistent something, and not just, hey,
Is he
this
still
guy
in the
made
league?
No, he ain't in the league no
I was
more.
about to say.
That bum's not around. But he had 3-4 years where it was like Chandler was a really solid role player.
Mm-hmm.
Then he got that bag with Memphis and he turned into nothing. He flat out. But yeah, but Michael, man, he's just 1 year got that massive deal. I don't get it. But hey, more power to these players for being able to get these bags like this, because it's wild out here. Speaking of bags, it costs a bag nowadays to have nice kicks, and we talk about sneakers a lot on this show. Now, before I ask this question to Mike, I want y'all to understand that Mike is like my new best sneaker friend, because he lives the same hard life that I live. Mike also wears a size 18, so he feels every bit of my pain. And Lord, I just want to thank you for giving me a kindred spirit in this, because it's painful.
It is. Don't get me on trying to go when I first started wearing 18, going in the Foot Locker looking for a size 18, and everybody looking at you like, what? Yeah.
They act like they doesn't exist. Like, oh, you joking? That's not real. Yeah, absolutely. Being that you are in the Super Ultra Bigfoot Club, if you had to rock one pair of sneakers and no other for an entire year, which ones would you choose?
Probably the 13s, Jordan 13s, only because it had to be a specific color, so not the sky blues or anything crazy like that. Probably the basic black and white ones, because it's a comfortable shoe. The Jordan 13s are very comfortable. Mm-hmm. But also, I love when I had the black ones. I love the little the specks of white on the side.
Okay,
like, it was just a fresh look, and it still is a fresh look. Like, when they re-release those shoes, I'm gonna try my best to get them. But yeah, I would say the Jordan 13s, black and white. I think I can rock those for an entire year and won't get super annoyed. Now, do I get the same shoe? Like, can I get new pairs of the same shoe? Or do I have to keep that to one pair? I'm cool either way. I'm just trying to visualize it.
One pair is one pair. This pair doesn't. This pair doesn't wear out on you, so it's not.
Okay, cool.
So it's not gonna.
So
yeah,
it's
the pair with the pair. Yeah. Your fairy godmother blessed you with this magic pair that doesn't wear out.
Okay, yeah, I would pick those because I definitely wore those out. Like I wore them out, literally.
The 13s are a great pick. I had a pair of 13s myself. They were the black and like tan ones, so I wore those as casual. They weren't for hooping. Those were for those were my first casual pair of J's that I ever bought for casual wear.
I will say, if you say you can't pick any pair of Jordans, you can never ever go wrong with a pair of Air Force Ones. Like,
oh, absolutely,
never.
Yeah,
like,
never go wrong.
If I couldn't pick Jordans, it'll probably be a pair of. I know it's negative energy, but the black Air Force Ones, like when them things fresh, you can't beat them. They're unbeatable.
Abe, I don't care about the negative energy. Black Air Force Ones are they're a whole vibe. I love them. Like they're so dope.
Very underrated summertime shoe, if I must say so myself.
Absolutely, and they are consistently affordable.
Did they ever make it past $100?
I think they permanently said that like forever. It's like forever under 100.
See, that's what I'm gonna have to buy my kids a pair of Air Force Ones when they get here.
See, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, I think for my youngest two are gonna be turning 12 in the spring. I'm thinking like I'm gonna get them each a pair of Air Force Ones. I think I'm gonna do the customizing thing, and get them a pair of Air Force Ones because they're just they're just eternally dope. Now there's one pair of shoes that I would pick, and they're not Jordans, and is a surprise for a lot of people because these are not super. They weren't super popular shoes. I'm trying to remember the name of them, the model name of them. These shoes were super light, super comfortable, by Nike. Tim Hardaway rocked them, and let me see. Okay, so I have a picture of them, but these are signed for sale, but doesn't say.
Tim Hardaway. So they weren't up tempos.
No, they weren't up tempos. They were in the flight. The flight family. Oh man, I wish I knew what the official name was. But I'm looking at them right now, and they just bring back. One thing I loved about these, they had the ankle protection was great, and they were super light. They almost felt like I was wearing socks. Is how light they were compared, especially with feet as big as ours are. The shoes often they're often heavy because there's so much more to our shoes than everybody else's, and certain like the 12s, for example, they often feel clunky on the heel because of how their design and such is. And these shoes, these flights were super light, and I think I was in like 8th grade. I played some of my best ball rocking those shoes, my 8th grade year, and I bought 2 more pairs.
It's not that shoe that it was like red with the yellow strings.
No, they were black. They had a it's kind of a funky design. Let me see here. That's That is not a website I want to click on. Nope. Nike Air Flight.
So it's not the Air Bacon, because that's the exact shoe I was thinking about. Air Bacon.
No, I remember the Air Bacon. Here we go. Let me see here.
I remember everybody had those shoes, them Air Bacons, man. I think they came out in the blue colorway too at one point.
Those were. They have it listed like Penny wore these. I don't remember Penny ever wearing them, but this. I'll throw it in the chat here.
Oh, that's the shoe.
That's the shoe. Super light.
Oh, I remember these.
Yeah, those shoes felt amazing. I had bought a second pair in black, and I bought a third pair in white, because they were just so comfortable. I those are some shoes I wore out because I would
Okay.
stay hooping in those.
Don't beat me up, bruh. Do not beat me up. My wife bought me a pair of Uggs. She bought me a pair of Uggs, size
Okay.
18, mid-cut Uggs.
I didn't know such a thing would have been created. I didn't
Listen.
think they would cater to our part of the market.
She got them off of, what's that? One of those. It's not Marshalls. It's not.
Ross,
Yeah, it's not Ross. It's the Nordstrom's Rack. She got it off of Nordstrom's Rack.
Nordstrom, really?
Yeah, Nordstrom's Rack for like
Wow.
$27 too. I say all this to say the hype is real. Those
Really?
are some very. I don't wear those outside. Those are my house slippers, bro. Like they keep my feet so warm. No socks. Okay, I'm lying. I do wear them outside when I go to the gas station or something. But I don't need to put on socks. I throw on my sweats. I got my shoes on. Like I'm out the door, hoodie. Feet feel wonderful. The hype is real with Uggs. I'm a believer. I'm just gonna say that.
Wow. Okay.
If I see if I remember the link, I'm gonna send it to you, bruh. I'm telling you.
Oh no,
No
please don't do
complaints.
that because I get in arguments. My wife just seems to think that she knows best when it comes to slippers, and like I don't like slippers. I've never liked slippers my entire life. Yet for some reason she decided to buy me slippers for Christmas like a year or two ago, and she gets mad that I don't wear them. I'm like, why would I wear something that's not comfortable to me? Like I don't like slippers. Uh, so if she saw that and saw that, she would probably buy $27 Uggs and try to
Mm.
guilt trip me into wearing them. And nah, I can't do that. I'm gonna pretend I didn't hear that.
The only down part is that they're like 10. Like if those were black, oh man, I probably never take them off. I'm gonna be honest with you.
That comfortable, huh? Wow.
Yeah. Like I'm not a shoe person either. Like I hate wearing socks in the house. Like I'm kind of a country boy. I like wearing no shoes, no socks. But bruh, I'm telling you, things were nice and comfortable. And my wife liked to keep the house kind of cold too, so my feet get kind of cold. But this winter, I'm not complaining.
Not complaining because you got
No
your Uggs.
complaints. I'm good. Size 18 with the fur inside. I'm about it.
Wow. That sounds like a hook on the song right now. Size 18 with the fur inside.
Go ahead, man.
Oh snap.
Oh my goodness.
All right. Next question for you. Wrap up here. Give me one anime that you recommend people watch before any other.
Okay. Usually I would plug My Hero Academia right here, but I'm not going to do that this time. Haikaiyu. I'm telling y'all, it's about volleyball, but I promise you when I say it's the best. Like if you want to get into anime and you're not like used to the traditional style of anime, Haikaiyu highly recommend it. I think it's 3 seasons, maybe 4. now, but it should be on Netflix. So like, check it out, and yeah, very quality entertainment. If it wasn't an anime, I would probably still watch it. Like if it was live action, I would watch it. It's that good.
That's an excellent choice. Uh, I love like how you. I think
I'm gonna
it's
rewatch it. I
it
have to.
it
I'm gonna
it,
start it
it
tonight.
it's so good. It jumped into my after watching the first season. It jumped into my top 5 sports anime of all time. Like it's excellent.
I I've only watched that, and I only watched Caillou from start to finish. So I think that's the only technical sports anime I can recommend. But there was this baseball anime. It only had one season. May say hi, but I think it was called Mix or something. MIX. But
Yes, mix.
the
Okay, yeah.
um, it was so it was it's wholesome. Like it's kind of wholesome. Like it was a
Okay.
nice chill anime. Um, like I'm a sports head, like most of us are. So like it was baseball. The story was kind of nice. It was weird because I'm not going to say that part, but it was like 'cause the family dynamic was kind of weird. Like it was a blended family.
Okay.
But yeah, it just seemed like the sister was starting to have feelings for the brother. They like never wrote it in the story, but
Yeah,
it
that'll
got
happen.
weird.
That'll happen in anime.
It was like,
Um,
oh wait a minute, what is this? But the
yeah.
baseball and the storyline is actually kind of fire. I'm mad that it was
Okay.
only one season. I'll probably read the manga. And speaking of manga, like I'm not going to spoil it right now, but the manga of My Hero is just ridiculous. Like seasons 6 through 8 of My Hero Academia will be ridiculous, y'all. I'm telling y'all.
Oh, don't spoil it because I'm still playing catch up on My Hero.
I'm telling
Um,
y'all.
but I'll definitely check out Mix. It's on my to watch list
It's a good show,
on
man.
Funimation. But I've watched a lot of sports anime, baseball anime in particular as well. Um, like Diamond No Ace, Princess Nine, um, Big Wind Up, which is one of my favorite sports animes. Um, I watched a good share of baseball anime there, but Mix, I'll
See,
definitely have to check that one out.
I already got a backlog of shows, bro. Like you can't be just throwing random sports anime at me and just expect
Oh,
me
I
to
got
be okay. Because like now I'm gonna have to start watching those, and I have my backlog of shows is just ridiculous right now.
oh well, I mean, especially if Haikyuu is like the only sports anime you've watched. I mean, brother, you gotta catch up on Kuroku,
Yeah, I was about to
basket.
say I never watched the
Um,
basketballs.
Slam Dunk is like the OG of basketball anime. Um,
It's a football joint too. I Shield
I Shield
24.
21. I Shield 21.
Oh,
Yep.
21. Okay.
I Shield 21. I watched that one, and then for boxing, there's Hajime no Ippo.
It's another one that's current. A boxing one. My nephews were watching. I can't remember the name of it, but I wanted to watch that one too. See, that's what I'm saying about my backlog. I got so much.
Oh, absolutely,
I want to.
absolutely.
Honestly, sometimes I just want to quit. Like I'm not watching nothing ever again. It's that bad, man.
Well, you got it. Well, you gotta. It's hard because sometimes you want to dabble, and it's like, you know what I've noticed myself when I'm tempted to rewatch something for like the 18th time. That's when I'm like, okay, let me watch some. Let me check out one of these ones on my backlog because I'm about to watch Full Metal Panic again. I'm about to watch Sword Art Online again, or like, all right, I've watched this. Let me put something on, something new on. Pay attention. So when you're tempted to rewatch My Hero Academia again, that's when you go to your backlog and be like, all right, let's try this one, let's try that one.
See, because I just said I was going to go watch Akahi again. And you're right. I
Yep.
probably should start just watching something new. Because there's some other joints like Assassination Classroom. I actually love that anime, but I don't even watch it because I'm so busy watching the other stuff. Honestly, the biggest reason my backlog is so bad is because of sports. Like that's a show that never stops. Like it's new episodes every day, pretty much.
You ain't lying. That's one thing is when you like both, it's hard. It's hard to track both of them. So especially like for you for those listening, this is just going to be a transition to our next uh, our next area, which is our PWC. What are you playing, watching, or creating? And we're already talking about watching, so we're going to stay on that track. And it's really tough when you like, as a Jeek, and I have all these broad horizons of things I like to watch. So I'm watching sports, so like my lineup recently was I watched, I watched Michigan win the Big Ten championship on Saturday. I watched the Lions finally win a game on that, that next day on Sunday. Then I'm watching, and then Monday, season 3 for Lost in Space on Netflix dropped, and then I binged all that. I watched all of that.
I hate when they release it all at once.
I watched all that, and then I'm watching. Then I watched King Richard Tuesday night on HBO.
Check that out, yeah.
And that was good. Will Smith, actually the whole, it's not just Will Smith, the entire cast did an excellent job. And some of the stuff that we've seen over the career of the Williams sisters, and even the interview that where the reporter was like needling Venus and Richard interrupted. I mean, it wasn't obviously exactly the same. They had it like outside in the movie instead of inside the house, but it was word for word how it happened IRL, and they did a great job. And they did an honest job showing some of the warts of Richard Williams. It wasn't all like, hey, thanks to Richard, everything was gravy. They showed some of his his stubbornness and his unwillingness to listen to the tennis coaches or the tennis insiders that were trying to give him advice on what to do. Because there's things that he could have listened to and then leveraged things out better, but we all know out in the end it worked out for them. But it was good, and Will had a lot of his Richard's mannerisms down, and it was just except the whole cast was great. The girls that played the sisters, and actually the girls that played all of the family members did a great job. It was cool. What I did not, I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, but I definitely encourage watching King Richard. It was definitely well done, very well done movie.
I saw that on HBO Max, so I'm gonna check.
Yeah, that's where I watch on HBO Max. Yeah. Yeah, so that was just the beginning of like that was weekend into to Tuesday, and then I'm still watching general anime stuff, and I'm watching sports, and I'm watching Pistons Wizards game, and I'm just trying to I'm trying to get all this stuff in, and it's hard because then new stuff drops, and you want to then you add that to your list, and I had to catch up on. Just within the past couple weeks, I caught up on Shang-Chi because I missed seeing that in theaters.
Right.
I caught up on Black Widow because I had missed seeing that.
And I'm in the same boat because Spider-Man, I'm going to see that on Thursday at 10:30, and I still haven't seen Shang-Chi or Black Widow, or I haven't finished the what's my guy name? Loki. The Loki series,
you haven't finished that yet?
Never started the Arrow series. I'm like way behind.
Oh wow! Yeah, Hawkeye. Hawkeye's about to drop episode 4.
I said Green Arrow, Hawkeye. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I knew what you meant. Yeah, well, I mean, Hawkeye just drops episode 3 on Wednesday. Loki was good.
I know it was actually
it was better than I expected it to be. Like I should say, I liked it more than I expected to like it, and it was good. And Hawkeye is panning out well so far. Also, oh yeah, there's. Well, I mean, I'm caught up though. I'm caught up there, but I'm behind. Like Star Trek Discovery started its fourth season. I haven't seen a single episode. I'm behind on that. Um, and then of course I'm a Manchester United fan. So
Mm,
every time there's a game on, it's in the middle of the day and I can't watch
right.
it because I'm working. you know, it is tough to catch up with so much content that just keeps coming out. Like, but and then I have to somehow find time to play video games. So like so like honestly, I ain't gonna lie, Mike. Half the time I will have some type of TV or show that it'll be on my iPad,
Hmm.
and I'm playing Destiny on my TV at the same time as I'm watching.
I tried to do that, but I got so overloaded, man. I'm like, I can't enjoy the show and play the game at the same time. But I probably kind of gave up on video games, bro. I'm only playing like Madden and 2K, and I didn't even buy this year's version. And my PlayStation 4 jacked up, and I'm like, I don't care, just don't care anymore, man. Kind of over video games now, but that's until I get this PS5. I know once I get that, I'm gonna want that Spider Man. Yeah,
I mean, I have it on the PS4 and it looks amazing. And I've seen the images from the PS5, and it's absolutely gorgeous.
I forgot about Eternals. Gotta watch that too.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm waiting because Eternals. They announced today that Eternals is going to be available mid-January on Disney Plus, and it will be available at no extra cost. So,
So like I said, I ain't got nothing to do with Spider Man.
I'm going to wait for Eternals. Um, and I'll see Spider-Man before I see Eternals. That's just how that's going to have to happen. I'm there's no way I'm waiting. I waited a long time for um, Far From Home, so I'm not waiting for this one. Not after all the hype and stuff that they pushed. There's absolutely no way I'm waiting.
I'm looking at a list of the MCU movies and their Rotten Tomatoes ranking.
Mm-hmm.
Eternals is the only Rotten Tomato.
You know,
I don't.
I've heard a lot of good things. I haven't heard anything bad about it IRL. Everyone I know that's seen it have all said they liked it. Even people that felt like some of the societal parts and stuff that felt that they were extra still like it's a good movie. Like there's I haven't heard anybody bash the movie.
That's what's
Yeah.
up. I'm gonna check
So
it out too.
yeah, I mean I'm watching it. It's an MCU movie. They even the ones I like a little bit aren't bad movies. Like I'm sorry, they did one bad movie. Thor: The Dark World was a bad movie. That movie was trash.
Yeah,
But Captain Marvel's not great, but it's not a bad movie. You know,
yeah, that
you
was
know,
alright. Captain Marvel was alright.
it was all right. I'm old school. Like, my favorite Captain Marvel is Monica Rambeau, and for me, if you were gonna introduce Captain Marvel, I didn't like retconning Marvel as a woman. There was no reason to do that. You could have left Marvel as a man and have Marvel give up his powers to Carol Danvers, and have her be Miss Marvel for a little bit in the movie before becoming Captain Marvel. Um, but you know, despite some nitpicky things, that old comic book purists like myself do, it wasn't a bad movie. Uh, except for Thor, that they haven't had any bad movies. Like, I mean, I went to the movie theater to watch Ant-Man. Like, if you told me in 1998 that there would be there would be an Ant-Man movie, I'd have laughed, and that I would go pay to see an Ant-Man movie, I would have laughed. I'd have been because I mean, I would have been like, Ant-Man. Like he's okay and all, but Ant-Man movie?
Right.
Why? Why would anybody go see an Ant-Man movie? Like that same thing with Doctor Strange. I'd have been like, who was gonna go pay to see a Doctor Strange movie? We're talking about like a C+ character here. Like who's gonna go see a Doctor Strange movie?
And it's wild because those were like two of my favorite movies. Like that first Ant-Man, like I love how like within the cinematic universe that Marvel's able to have their own type of film type. Like with Captain America, you have like this spy type film, like with Secret Service or whatever. But what they did with Ant-Man, it turned into a heist film franchise. I'm like, what? Who would have thought that that would be Ant-Man? That it would be a heist film franchise? But that's where they are, and 2 for 2, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, and I give the MCU, Kevin Feige, all the credit in the world because he's taken mostly C level characters, a couple Bs, and made them and created all these standalone films for characters that 20 years ago, if you just said, "Hey, there's going to be a Black Widow movie," people would have been like, "Nah, we're good." Like
I mean,
people were always going to be hyped for Avengers movies, because that's the conglomerate. But before they started telling stories the way they did, you wouldn't have convinced anybody just out the blue to go to see a Black Widow movie. If they had the solo movie set up, the big conglomerate movie, it wouldn't have worked. But being that they did the Avengers movie together and people saw how, and you used bigger names like Iron Man and Captain America to set that one up, and then you did the solo movies for the smaller names, if they did it in reverse, it wouldn't have worked.
It was just wild to me that it started with Iron Man because I'm not in the comics like that. The only thing I knew about Iron Man, honestly, was like from the cartoons, the Avengers cartoons, and whenever they teamed up with Fantastic Four. Like, I never would have thought that the MCU would start with Iron Man, even though in the comics that's how it started and whatnot. But I still never would have thought that Iron Man would lead to this. That when did Iron Man come out? 08?
Yeah,
7, something like that. I
2008,
never would have thought that 13 years later that I would be excited to see a Spider-Man movie based off of what happened that year.
It's crazy because Iron Man himself as a character was not an upper echelon character. Like Iron Man's always been at the max of B-level character. Captain America, Spider-Man, Hulk have always been your top tier Marvel characters. Iron Man was always just a step below them, and they did a great job just setting up the universe. And
I remember
it's amazing that it's just just watching what they've done and the way they built the pieces. It's amazing. Like, it's tough to describe how you can have 10 movies in pretty much a 10-year period, 12-year period. Oh, and when did Endgame come out? 2 years ago now. Yeah, so
oh wow,
so like 11. Yeah, it was 2 years ago now. So you've got 10 movies in like 11 years, and establish this entire universe, and it worked.
right.
I'm sure it worked past tense. It works because it's still going. Now we're in another phase of it. It's wild.
I remember playing Marvel vs. Capcom and using War Machine and Iron Man as two of my trio because of the big cannon gun that they used. It was a good power move. Back then, nobody was picking Iron Man and War Machine like that. Like, I was like the few. Everybody was picking Spider-Man, Wolverine, Hulk. Nobody was really rocking with Iron Man and War Machine. So, like, that's
A
why
lot
I
of
was
people.
surprised.
I mean, I knew people who didn't know who War Machine was. I had to tell them.
Exactly.
I'm like, no, that's James Brody Rhodes. He's the brother in the suit, and he was Iron Man for a little bit when Tony had retired, and like this, because I'm a big comic. I've been reading comics since the '80s, so um, I knew about that, but most people, it was crazy. What's the craziest thing to me about the MC right now is that they've made not only takes these C levels, B or C level characters, and some like Ant-Man were like D characters. But they're household names.
Right.
Like that part just blows my mind. That Ant-Man and the Wasp have their own movie, and that's a household name. You know, doctors like, and it's a mainstream thing. Like that's what's wild, is that these characters that only big time comic book nerds knew about are now mainstream pop culture. That to me is just crazy. How much has changed in essentially in less than 20 years, because they weren't popular. Those characters weren't that popular in 2008, 2009, 2010. In roughly 10 years, those characters have gone from obscurity to mainstream pop culture.
And that's kind of what makes this potential Fantastic Four and X-Men joint so exciting, because like you're kind of about to have this opportunity to mix the past with the present, if that makes any sense.
It does,
Because
yeah.
a lot of the kids nowadays, they didn't grow up on the X-Men and Fantastic Four like we did, so
True.
they're about to get some like fire storylines that they've never seen before, and that we've never seen before.
They better not mess up the X-Men, and they better do Fantastic Four right. I am so tired of these bad Fantastic Four movies, man. It hurts
I
my
haven't even
heart.
seen the second one yet.
Don't bother. It's painful. It's so bad. And that the one with Michael B. Jordan in them,
That's the second one.
horrific. Oh, it's so bad. I couldn't even finish it.
Dang.
It's terrible. It's a terrible movie.
Sheesh.
It's poorly written, poorly acted. It's just bad all the way around.
Who's the main villain in that joint?
Victor Von Doom.
Oh, they messed up a Doctor Doom. How you mess up?
Well, he wasn't
Doctor?
he wasn't fully Doctor Doom yet. It's just a bad movie. It's a bad movie.
Man, if Doctor Doom isn't the next super Marvel villain, I'm gonna have
Well,
to
the next big bad is Kang the Conqueror. They've already revealed that. Now, that's why you need to finish watching Loki. Trust me on this. Finish watching Loki, because it will the last episode makes it all worth it, and will let you know the direction we're going from here forward.
Okay. I think I'm like halfway through, so I can finish that this week.
Yeah, finish that Loki. Because like I was at first, like the first half of the first 3 episodes, I was kind of like, yeah, I'm only watching because like I wasn't super impressed. But as it continued to go on, and things got, more reveals happened, I was like, okay, I got you. Okay, I got you. And then the last episode, I was like, okay, oh, this is what we're doing. Okay. Yeah, it's definitely finished that, because it sets the table. Yeah, I don't want to spoil it. Like I'm trying to keep myself from spoiling it. All right. Real quick, a couple things back into the sports world I wanted to get to chat about real quick before we let you go. Hugh Jackson, former NFL head coach, has been named the head coach at Grambling State. What are your thoughts on Coach Jackson joining the ranks at an HBCU?
When I saw the article, I was happy. Like I'm glad that the HBCUs are starting to get the recognition that they probably deserved. And my hope is that it continues to grow to the point where maybe these schools can start competing with the bigger schools, with the bigger PWIs, for lack of a better term.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be nice if they can like ride that momentum, and one day you see a Jackson State playing Alabama in the football playoffs. Like, you never know. So I'm always good, especially being an HBCU graduate myself from UDC, who I really wish they had a football team.
program. Yeah.
I definitely would have played. But nevertheless, yeah, I'm happy for Hugh, and hopefully he can lead them. I think, is that the school where Doug Williams coach?
Yes.
Grambling? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they're used to having success there. Because I remember Doug Williams used to like run the tables yearly at that school. So
there was a time where they won a national championship. It was a long time ago.
Really?
But yeah, I mean,
Man.
Grambling has a long storied history of football. And there was a time where we talked about HBCU football. Grambling was the standard bearer for HBCU football. So and it's not like Hugh Jackson is a bad coach. We all know
Exactly.
he had a raw deal in Cleveland, and he's an excellent coach. If he can recruit, I think I completely agree with you. He can have a similar effect that Dion had at Jackson, and I think and Dion going to Jackson, I think helps spur this signing as well. And the more big names go to HBCUs, and the more programs start to be willing to, schools start to be willing to build their programs back up, I think you're going to see a big influx of talent choosing to go to these HBCUs. I'm 100% for it. I'm 100% for it.
I would hate the person that's against something like this. Like, no, we shouldn't go there. Like, what?
No, why not? I would love to see Howard become a power, and Central State become a power, and Virginia Union, Hampton, all of a sudden, all of a sudden, like then all of a sudden, the Southern Classic is no longer just about the bands, but we actually watch some football too,
Right.
That would be dope. North Carolina A&T and them, and all of a sudden you've got some really viable programs, and they can be in one conference or multiple conferences, but I think that would be super dope.
Real quick, like blending in, because I heard you say something about Manchester earlier. So, like, I would love if college can kind of like start doing what the Premier League does, and like you have these 32 college teams every year, and like the bottom four get knocked out, and you bring in four more every year to like compete to try to stay in within the Premier League or something like that. Like, I don't know how it'll work, but that would be crazy.
It could work. It couldn't work at the very top because of how it's structured, but you could do it within collegiate sports.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about within college.
You could definitely do it in collegiate sports. So you would have to have. It's just so let's use the Big Ten as an example, and then you'd have to have a certain number of wins, and then you have like four of the teams that are part of the conference, but they don't play in the conference unless they can earn their way. So let's say the bottom four this year, I'm just guessing, were Rutgers, Maryland, Northwestern, and let's say Nebraska. Let's say they were the bottom.
One of those two.
It was probably Illinois. It was probably Illinois, but my mind just went to the four newest ones. But let's just hypothetically say those were the four worst, and then so they were all horrible, so they get booted, and then in comes Notre Dame, Cincinnati, uh,
Maybe a North
um,
Dakota or something.
yeah,
Like North
maybe
Dakota State.
maybe Montana or North Dakota, something like that. They
Because
get plugged in.
that would be my whole thing, is to try to get as many Division II schools or whatever, like give them a fair shot to like sort of move up, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, so if you're going to go that way, then what I would say is, um, your four, like your within your area, like you then what I would say, like your four close Division II champions as far as their conferences, then they have that berth to get moved up the next year. So so
Like they'll probably
that would
get
be
killed, but at least
but
they had a
but
chance.
I mean, unfortunately, I have to invoke this terrible memory, but we've seen the Appalachian State.
I knew you was about to say that.
It breaks my heart to have to bring up the memory, but we've seen it, and there's been some really good. Look, my father's alma mater. He went to a D2 school. He went to um, Grand Valley in Michigan. And when Brian Kelly was coaching them, they won multiple Division II national championships. A team like that would have been definitely waiting to be in the wings, to play in a power conference. Again, they may not have stayed in for more than a season or two and gotten kicked back out of the cycle, but to be in there, think about the exposure a small school like that would have, playing 2 years in the Big Ten before they got demoted again. That 2 years, even if they lose every game, that's national television exposure. That is players who did not know you existed now know you exist. And when you come calling, now there is a higher chance that they would go play with you, because now they know that you're good enough to be able to compete against the big dogs. And yeah, they're a 2.5 star or 3 star recruit, and they're not getting recruited by those teams, but they can come play at Grand Valley or Appalachian State, and they can make some noise and potentially have a chance in a couple years to be playing on the national stage, which helps them, whether they want to transfer to another school or whether they're just gonna know that around their junior senior year they're going to be playing in front of national audiences, which is going to help them when it comes to to potentially getting drafted and playing at the next level. you know that would be super cool.
I would
uh,
love that,
and
man.
I mean, honestly, I think that's what they do in Europe with soccer is what they should be doing, collegiately, except for it should just be, to me, like you just have this very massive, it's like a massive minor league system that you would just pull everybody up through. And you know to me that would be dope, and that would be the best way to really build up and establish that talent. But you know America's got America and do things their way.
Exactly.
you know all right, last thing real quick before I let you go. um Coach Mel Tucker, the Michigan State Spartans, got a 10-year, $95 million extension.
I didn't know it was 95 million.
$95 million. What are your thoughts on Coach Tucker getting such a big extension so quick into his tenure there at Michigan State?
I'm happy for him, obviously. You just
Get them checks, Coach.
You just don't see African American college coaches getting that much trust, especially this fast.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in Michigan State, so it's not like it's a real like big football school either. Like, I know they care about football, but I always thought they were more of a basketball school.
No, they're a football school. I mean,
Really?
they've had more success in basketball, but trust me, Michigan is a football state. Michigan State's a football school.
Well, dang, maybe if that's the case,
they're better at basketball, success wise, and consistently better at basketball. But the first love, first and foremost, is football.
If that's the case, then it's going to be a little pressure on them to deliver. Like they're probably going to expect the college football playoff in the next 5 years, maybe sooner than that.
That would be reasonable to me with that type of commitment and that type of money. See, when Michigan State has had a bit of a downturn ever since Nick Saban bolted from Michigan State to go to LSU.
I forgot he was at Michigan State. That's what.
Yeah, that's what we see. Michigan State gave him his big break as a college coach. That was his first head coaching job.
I remember.
And trust me, Spartan fans are still pissed because he did us dirty and dipped out on us the way he did. The same way he dipped out on LSU to go to the Dolphins. How dirty he did that. He did the same thing to Michigan State.
Nothing will ever be worse than when Bobby Petrino dipped on the Falcons and went to Arkansas. I remember that night. I'm telling you, as I saw the alert that was like Bobby Petrino resigns from Atlanta, blah blah blah. Man, like 2 hours later, this dude was saying "Pig Suey" on Sports Center. I'm like,
yes, he was.
Yo, what? What? That was wild. I'm sorry, bro.
Petrino's a mercenary, man. He's a full out mercenary.
But yeah, I hope Tucker does do well though, because yeah, it'll be big for Michigan State. If they're as big of a football school as you say they are, then I mean, hey, who wouldn't want to see a big time Michigan State Michigan football game with highly ranked teams? But I always liked Michigan State even before Kirk Cousins. Those days,
you like that? I remember watching Kirk at Michigan State. Yeah.
I mean, he had a comeback. Like this is before Washington even drafted him. I was a fan of Kirk in college. Like he had a comeback. He threw a deep pass. I forgot who it was against. It could have been Michigan, but I forgot who it was. But yeah, Kirk, he had a nice run at Michigan State.
Yeah, he did. There's a lot of talents come through MSU. T.J. Duckett, Plaxico Burress.
There's another person I like from there too. I can't remember. I can't remember. I know one of our bums came from there. I think did Devin Thomas go to Michigan State? Wide receiver.
I'm not sure. It doesn't ring a bell.
I think he did. Man, that dude. See, now I gotta check because that. I remember he came in the NFL and he was on some model type stuff, man. Like I really think he was like number one at Michigan State. I'm sorry. Yup, he was in Michigan State from 04 to 07. I think that's him. Yeah, that's him. Devin Thomas. What a bum, man. Oh my goodness. And he played for 5 teams too. That's wild. How did he make 5 teams? That's
sometimes you show enough flash of talent that people keep going off of your potential while you never make it actually happen.
And no disrespect at all if anybody know him or whatever. I'm just saying, like, hey.
Well, Jeeks, that is going to complete this episode of the original Jeek podcast. I want to give a special thanks to our guest, Mike Pyatt. But, Mike, before we go again, please just remind everybody where they can find you and your podcast if they want to give a listen.
So on Twitter and Instagram, you can find me at Mike from SW, at Mike from Southwest. And you can find the podcast, the Wizards, the Classified podcast, with Wizards Talk on any platform. And Eddie and Mike, the podcast, with me and my guy, Eddie P. We talk about sports on any podcast platforms. And yeah, thanks for having me, bro. It was really fun.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. And I really appreciate you taking your time and joining me tonight. So, folks, again, I'm your host, Rockin' Mr. Magic. And we at Jeek Nation want to thank you for listening. And we could not possibly do this show without all of you Jeeks who support us. So please rate and review this show on your podcasting app of choice. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, CastBox, and more. And if you can't find us, let us know at jeeknation@gmail.com or message us on Facebook at Jeek Nation. And until next time, peace.
Ready to make an entrance, so backward cut.
Come on, clap for me.
Oh, yeah. Whoa, slow down. Whoa, speed up.
This is DJ What, and you're listening to the original Jeek podcast.